This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Lech Deich Master podcast. We continue in the Nyanim of Emunah. A second aspect of Emunah we're going to discuss today, of believing in Hashem's guiding hand. He orchestrates everything, and He is acutely involved in all aspects of everything in the entire Bria. There's another aspect of Emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which has great advantages to a person. And that is to have faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu upon all beings. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu, His providence spans everything in the lower realm down to every last detail. And a person can do as much as lifting a finger without a specific green light, an affirmation from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, unless HaKadosh Baruch Hu grants it. The word noikif etzbai literally means to stub his toe. It's all gezerah milamala. It's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it is from the mouth of Hashem that evil and good emanate. Sometimes we think, how can it be? How can Ra happen? It's all the Eibishter. We don't want it to happen, and we often don't understand why things happen. But one thing is for sure, it's not going off the radar. It's not something Hashem isn't aware of. It's not. We have to go back to the king and say, Hashem, by the way, do you know about October 7th? Do you know about Meron, the tragedy? Do you know about the accidents that happened over the summer? The Eibishter knows. And it's painful, and we daven for Yeshuas from the Chamas and only B'suras Tovis. But as we said, a person doesn't do as much as stub his toe. A person can't lift a finger. A person can't blink his eye without HaKadosh Baruch Hu giving his shtempel. Bein habayis b'yedei Shemayim, bein habayis b'yedei Adam, both in the upper realms and the lower realms, Hashem is in charge of everything. Hashem has many messengers for the good or otherwise. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the cause for everything, and things that are caused by other people only happen because Hashem decreed how they'll unfold. So we can think maybe Hashem only decides how much a tree should grow, how much a person should grow, how much apple should grow, how much fish there should. But like for me, and if I get harmed, if I get embarrassed, then I get ashamed, then I lose money. Is that Hashem? Is that also? Yeah, the answer is even when there's other people involved, it's all Hashem powering and giving His divine stempel, His divine stamp, that anything and everything can take place. Bread does not always come to the wise, and the race is not always won by the swift. And how is that? Because it's all the Eibishter. So you can have the tortoise wins the race. How? Because it's the Eibishter. And because of this heightened clarity and this idea berua that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the show, a person will never come to concern with loss of money and any of the other circumstances that occur in life that we're upset about, that we're frustrated, that we're nervous about, that anxiety builds up. A person certainly will not invest in trying to achieve wealth in forbidden ways, because that's going against the king, and Hashem can do anything. So what would be the need? To go rebel against the king to get his haskama to give you money in an oifen iser? Do it the right way. Rather, he will always conduct his affairs with justice, properly and in line with the laws of the Torah. He will not let other people bother him, and he will not flatter others in hope of receiving favors. There's no need. And he will not harbor any will against anyone for anything, and he will not seek revenge or bear any grudge. Why? Because you remember that it's all the Eibishter. You remember that everyone are just merely chess pieces. You remember they're pawns. You remember that they're puppets in the show. and as scared and as intimidated as we can be from other people, and we think they said, they decided X, Y, and Z, whatever the blanks are in your life, it's all the Eibishter. And when we're afraid and we're intimidated to come back to them, it's on us. It's a perm spiel, because Hashem is in charge. It's all Hashem's perm spiel. It's His. So it's not a big deal. We're afraid of someone, there's nothing to be afraid of. It's when we're talking to this person, it's so scary. Why is it scary? Talking to the Eibishter. If it's the right decision to talk to this person, it's the right decision to whatever those blanks are. What are you worried about? Hashem decided that you should have to come back. So it's all the Eibishter. So what does it make a difference? And certainly this, again, revenge, bearing grudge, who you taking revenge on, who you bearing a grudge against. If it's all the Eibishter, and the Eibishter decide, and as we said before, who anoisin chayil, lasses chayil, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is fueling and giving everyone, who anoisin chayil lasses chayil. Hashem is the one who gives strength to perform anything. So it's all Hashem. So what are we getting nervous about? What are we harboring ill will, bearing grudges? There's no need. Because we're going to understand and have the clarity that it's all the Eibishter, and believe that if we're Rachmana litzlan suffering in any capacity, especially if it's at the expense, if it's at the hands of others, it's only because Hashem has told him to curse. It's only because Hashem enabled the Ra, the negativity, to come his way. And this is a tremendous yisoid from the Stipler as well. But everything that befalls a person comes from Hashem himself, to take away the stain of the person's misdeeds for his ultimate good. So it's hard to internalize and to be cognizant of this reality during the grind, during whatever it is that we're facing. But if we want to tap into the truth, this is the emes. We have to remind ourselves that everything the Eibishter does is for the good. And in this way, he will always accept the judgment of Shamayim with joy, and not be repelled by Hashem's rebuke if he is visited by trials in his life. It means to say is that anything that comes his way, anything that he thinks, that he perceives as Ra, as negativity, he remembers that that anything that's happening is for the best, is somehow to clean the stains of Averis, and in that space, in that place of recognition of Emes, he's not going to come to all of the bad things that we've discussed. Going back to what we just said, highlighting one point over here, we spoke about how Hashem is the Hu Anoisin Koyach Lasas Chayil. Hashem is the one who gives strength to perform anything. It's all Hashem. And when we're the victim of other people's negativity, of other people's Ra, quote unquote, we remind ourselves that Kol Man Da'av Rachmana Tav Avid, that anything the Eibishter does, it's all for our good, it's all for our protection, it's all for our nitzchis, it's all to make it better in the next world. And that's difficult to realize at the moment, but with his baininess, with reflection, either before or after, it's always important to remember that it's all the Eibishter 100%. It's incredible that where we can glean, we can be reminded of this emes la'amitoy, this truth of truths. As the Pele Yoeitz began, Emuna hi haisal l'roish pina. Emuna is the cornerstone of everything. It's fascinating how I was reminded of this a couple months ago after a false alarm at the hospital. Baruch Hashem, we were expecting a child. It was on Shabbos a couple months ago, and we called the taxi. We went to the hospital with all the shinuyim and the Amir La'akum. We tried to acquaint ourselves with the halachas before. We got to the hospital. We were there for a bunch of hours. And finally, 2 a.m., we were ready to return home. We get in touch with a Lyft taxi, and this lady comes in a dilapidated old jalopy. 2 a.m. in the back of this lift, this white, old, fakvetch car. And the driver was a woman in her upper 20s. And she noticed all the funny things. We were asking her to come out, and we did it in a polite way. Ask her, do you mind doing this and do you mind doing that? Opening the door, shutting the trunk, closing the door once we came in. And she noticed our Shabbos clothing, a big Shabbos. And she was very intrigued. She was a smart, wise woman. Had a lot of questions. And finally, once we were sitting and we were settled, we engaged in conversation. She was asking all about this, about our Shabbos, about our clothing, about our culture. And we explained it to her. And when the time presented itself, we asked her, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, we're Jewish. And she said, well, actually, I am Muslim. And my life right now, I live in Jersey. And I'm a Lyft driver. I do some studies in a local university. And we said, oh, that's so nice. And she said, yeah, it's actually very fascinating. She said, just a few months ago, I got divorced. We said, oh, we're so sorry to hear. And she's like, yeah, it wasn't really a regular divorce. I was actually married to an Arab sheikh in Dubai. She said, wow, that must have been insane. That must have been... And she said, yeah, it was quite insane. And I got divorced for a reason. Even though I was living a life of royalty, I was living in multiple palaces, and I was decked out, dripping in jewelry and fine gold, and I had servants and anything you could possibly imagine. Fine cuisine all day long, and I didn't have to do anything, and I was just living literally like a queen. I got divorced because it wasn't good for me. It was taking me down. And even until today, as I'm driving in this little Lyft car, I'm being persecuted. They're being roided for me. Here I am driving my little car in New Jersey, Lyft. And that's pretty much the story of my life, my divorce. And we said, like, tell us a little bit more. Why did you get divorced? And she said, I was so abused. I was so taken advantage of. I just couldn't handle it anymore. It wasn't good for me. It wasn't good as a person. And I decided it was time to leave. And I left, and now I'm very happy. And I asked her in the car, like, how do you live with this new reality? You were living literally in the most beautiful palace. She actually showed us pictures on her phone and overseeing the most mind-boggling, breathtaking sights of water and skyscrapers and just insane beauty, opulence like you've never seen in Dubai. And now you're driving this beat-up, white, old 1990 Camry as a Lyft driver. How is that for you? How do you, such a strong contrast, how do you live with that? And she said, I'll tell you. She said, it's not easy. But she said, when you realize God is in control, not 99%, but 100%, you can live through anything. And that shook me and my wife, reminded us that the Eibishter is the Kol Yachol, that Emunah, as we saw over here, is Roish Pina. It is the cornerstone of our existence. It is the cornerstone of us being Yidden, of our commitment and our connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And when we inculcate into ourselves, not 99%, 100%, even in life's most trying times, even when we feel that we've been abandoned, we've been hurt by others, as we've spoken over here, we remember that there's no reason to retaliate, there's no reason to harbor ill will, because it's all the Eibishter. And when it's all the Eibishter, it does make a difference. Everyone's puppets, everyone's chess pieces, everyone's being moved around strong, being played with by Hashem, and we should have no fears, because it's all the Eibishter. When we're talking to someone we're scared of, when we're uncomfortable, when we want to bear a grudge, it's all the Eibishter. We just want Melech Haaretz Kavod, we want to be more Kavod Shemayim, more Shekhinah, more of Hashem's glory. And when our emunah and bitachon is 100%, we can do literally anything.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.